Hi, this is Julie Henderson of Our Sacred Pause, and the purpose of this little video is to give you just a brief how-to on one of my favorite tools in the mentoring work that I do, which is SoulCollage. This is intended to accompany the Quick Start PDF, so make sure you also have that downloaded. Created by therapist and author Sina Frost, SoulCollage is a process that can help you break through to a deeper understanding of the workings of your mind and spirit, and it can support you in having easier access to your own intuitive wisdom. That's why I love it for this work. Now, please rest assured, SoulCollage requires no artistic experience or talent. Quite simply, it is a unique, simple, and really fun creative process that can be used when you're stuck and you can't figure out your next step. It can give form to the sacred time that you create for yourself on your own personal journey to wholeness. The only thing that's necessary is a willingness to be open to the experience. So this video is going to help you get started with creating SoulCollage cards of your own. And as I said, it accompanies the Quick Start PDF that has resources and more information. Now, one thing I love about SoulCollage is how low maintenance it is. The only supplies that you need to have is some kind of source for images. Usually people use magazines. You could use calendars, greeting cards. You can even find images online. They need not be all National Geographics or something that is image laden. You can find great images even in Business Weekly. So a great little stack of maybe 20 assorted magazines is about all. Maybe not even 20, maybe 10 magazines is about all you really need. Then you need some kind of backing for your SoulCollage cards. Most people use pieces of 5x8 mat board. Those are the mats that are used by framers to mat artwork and photos. So if you're here in the Columbus area and local, you can purchase these cards directly from me at my office. If you need to have them shipped, you can purchase sets of the 12 from SoulCollage.com or contact me and we can arrange something there too. Now, if you're not sure whether you're going to be going whole hog into SoulCollage, you can sometimes cheaply buy 8x10 pieces of mat board at craft or framing stores and then use a ruler or a box cutter to cut them in half. And then the simplest workaround that I have found, if you really don't want to get into the mat board, is to buy a pack of 5x8 lined note cards and use those. It'll be a little flimsy, but then down the road, if you find yourself addicted to SoulCollage, you can just affix those collages onto a board. Now, I do suggest sticking to the 5x8 size in case you decide to do more later. Then your cards will match, which is important. And also, while it may seem like this is a small canvas on which to create, the small size seems to lead to kind of a honing of the energy and the message of the card. With too much space, often the imagery and the message can get diluted and things just get too busy and too much. It also makes it nice and portable for future use. Now, another thing you need is adhesive. Personally, I really like rubber cement. If you can take the fumes, it is very forgiving as long as you slide things around to move it rather than picking them up and placing them back down. Once you pick up and place back down, it is more or less cemented in its spot, which is why it's called rubber cement. It also cleans up very easily. Now, alternatively, if you just can't do the fumes, look for a good photo-safe, acid-free glue stick. Now, be aware that some of those can be chunky rather than smooth as you're using them and make your cards a little lumpy, so you may want to use a tool called a brayer that looks like a little paint roller almost, except it's hard, or even take a jar or something and put it on its side and roll it over it to smooth your card out if you decide to do that and you get lumpiness. I have found that, and SoulCollage Inc. has found that Pioneer brand makes a pretty good glue stick that tends to not get chunky. And there's a rectangular one that does your edges really nicely. So you can look for those. And then the last thing that you might want to have on hand is a pair of scissors. Just as an aside, cards, adhesive, a paper frame that's an optional thing we'll talk about in a little bit. You can also buy a little starter kit at SoulCollage.com that would have all of that with it, all together in a little set if you're interested. Now, once you have that gathered, you're more or less ready to go. But the most challenging step is often creating the time and the space to do this work. Some elements of card making, such as gathering and sorting images, can sometimes be done in whatever little snippets of time you can create for yourself during your week. However, when it comes to actually creating the cards, it's really best to block out some time when you won't be interrupted. This doesn't necessarily need to be an extended block of time. Sometimes 30 minutes to an hour can be more than enough. When you sense that you need extra time or want to go deeply into the process, blocking out several hours is definitely a beautiful gift to yourself. But regardless of the length of the session, I encourage you to take the time to create sacred space, because SoulCollage really is a journey into the sacred and into the layers of your soul. So creating sacred space can be something as simple as lighting a candle, or it can be something more complex, including special objects and music. If you haven't had a chance to see my ebook, Created in Your Midlife Sanctuary, you can find a link for that. You have to put your email address in, and then you'll get a link for that on my website. And that may help you in carving out some time for yourself. Once you're ready, you simply follow the steps below to begin creating your SoulCollage cards. And remember, these steps don't all necessarily have to happen in one sitting, but can be spread out over several sessions. So, the first step is to simply center yourself. Always take time before you begin any SoulCollage related activity to center yourself and release any hassles of the day. A simple 5-minute heart centering or grounding meditation can be just the right thing. And if you're doing a non-directed card making session, you can just begin right from there after you've centered yourself. If you're exploring a particular issue, then you might want to center yourself and then take the time to immerse yourself into the thoughts or feelings and the general energy of whatever situation you're exploring, and create your cards from that space. The next step is to gather the images. Allow yourself to browse your image sources without an agenda. Just tear or cut out images that appeal to you, or perhaps that get under your skin a little and repel you. Images that grab you in some kind of way. Again, if you're using SoulCollage to explore a particular issue, you've already gently set your intention in the previous step. So try to simply set the intention and then let go and trust the process. You're looking for images that resonate for you in some way. What I invite you to do, to the best of your ability, is try not to analyze why you're attracted to it or try to imagine what you'll do with it. Just pull the images and make a pile. Try to release any preconceived ideas about what images your card should have or what it needs to look like. Once you have a nice sized stack of images that you've pulled, and I would say to begin with at least 20 to 25 images, then you want to start sorting through them. See which ones really pop for you now, that feel the most alive and that you're feeling the most drawn to. And then notice which images seem to want to go together, and just loosely sort them into piles or maybe themes. And again, do this process lightly without engaging your analytic mind. Allow yourself to be surprised. Once you have your images pulled and sorted, or if you already have a stash of images and are beginning here, you might want to take your time to center and focus again, as I described earlier. Once you have that done, you are ready to trim, arrange, and glue the images. I want you to begin with the images that you're most drawn to or that feel most alive to you. Now, as you're looking for how they go together, the simplest soul collage cards consist of a background image that covers the card and then a foreground image living somewhere on the background. That's the simplest card, and many of my cards, that's all it is, a background and a foreground. Other cards are more complex, and you may have several foreground images living on a background. And then there's still others that are more like traditional collages, several images kind of coming together and no background at all. There's no one way, and certainly no right way, to make a soul collage card. So try to let the images lead you. Basically what you want to do is play with the images until you find just the right combination. You may find that the images come together naturally, or you may need to experiment a bit, seeing which background feels right for a particular image, or conversely, what images want to live on a certain background. It doesn't matter where you start, whether you start with a background or some tiny little image that grabbed your eye. Again, let the images lead. If you like, you can create a paper frame, a frame out of a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, and you just cut the 5 by 8 rectangle in the center. And then you can use this paper frame to decide what part maybe of a large background image to use, or just to have a better sense of how things are going to come together and to determine placement for the images that are going together. It is particularly useful when you have large images that won't fit on the card. You can use the frame to decide what part of it you really want. Once you have a pretty good sense of how you want things to come together, it's time to glue. I like to cut my background a little bit oversized. I can't for the life of me cut an exact 5 by 8 background that will fit my card perfectly. So I tend to leave it a little oversized and glue it down, and then I just usually turn it over and trim off the excess for a good fit. Once you have that done, you can affix your images where you want them. Again, that's just one way, so play around and find out how you like to create your cards. And remember, there is no wrong way. Once you have them together, voila, a soul collage card is born. Now, Sina was famous for saying there are no rules in soul collage, and then she would tell you her rules. There are a couple of important guidelines that I feel are really important to remember. The first one is to try to keep it to one energy or one theme, one presence for a card. I think the best way to explain this is to say, if let's say you're working on inner child issues, you don't want to put your happy inner child and your sad inner child and your angry inner child and your lonely inner child all on one card. Those would be 4 separate cards. Now, again, this is a guideline, and often if you go through my soul collage cards, you will find competing energies. Sometimes it happens accidentally, sometimes it's just the way things come together. But that's simply to say, don't intentionally go in there and put multiple energies on one card. And then what I think is the most important guideline is don't put words on your cards. And I'm not referring here to incidental words that might pop up in images such as a sign in the background or above a doorway, but intentional words. So many people have done vision boards that are full of inspirational words like ease or energize or go for it that they cut out from titles or headlines. Resist that temptation. This is a whole different thing from a vision board. What happens is words, because they are processed on the left side of your brain, they pull you right out of this kind of luscious right brain space that SoulCollage creates and activates your left brain language centers. And there's something weird that happens as well, is they seem to kind of lock the card into time and space in which you create them. So they become a little stunted in their growth over time, because SoulCollage do actually evolve with you. But there's something about words that seems to hold them in place and not allow them to evolve as they would without words. So those are the two important guidelines to remember. And this is just the beginning. Creating the cards is just the first step with SoulCollage. In our work together, you'll learn more about how to discern the message or the teaching that comes from the cards that you create, and learn how to build it into your life. So, again, remember to see the accompanying SoulCollage Quick Start PDF that you should have received for additional details in terms of supplies, for links to helpful resources, and to just get a little more detail about the process. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and I really look forward to seeing the SoulCollage creations that you come up with.